Now, let's proceed to the different causes or sources for the errors which most ESL or English as Second Language or EFL, English as Foreign Language students make at various stages. Let's talk about interlingual transfer or L1 interference. So L1 stands for first language. So again, as a review, L1 or first language is also considered as our mother language or our native language, meaning this is the first language that we have learned since we were little. So students who learn English as a second language already have a deep knowledge of at least one language, which is their native language. And because of that, there are confusions between the two languages. So students now are confused, most especially if two languages consist of different grammatical structures. So interlingual transfer happened because the native language or the mother language interference. And in these early stages, before the system of the second language is familiar, the native language is the only linguistic system in previous experience upon which the learner can draw. So this is interlingual transfer. So there is an interference or confusion between the student's native language and the second language, which is English. On the other hand, we also have the intralingual transfer. So intralingual error is an error that takes place due to a particular misuse of a particular rule of the target language. It is, in fact, quite the opposite of interlingual error. It puts the target language into focus. The target language in this perspective is thought of as an error cause. So if in the interlingual transfer we have a confusion between the native language and the second or the target language, in intralingual transfer we will just focus on the target language itself. So there are mistakes or particular misuse of the rules, in particular rules of the target language. For example, some grammatical structure rules in the second language. So there are confusions on those rules. Furthermore, J. Richard and others in 2002 consider it as one which results from faulty or partial learning of the target language. Under intralingual transfer, we have this what we call overgeneralization. So in linguistics, overgeneralizations error occur when the speaker applies a grammatical rule in cases where it doesn't apply. So when the students overgeneralize the use of a particular rule. So according to Richard, he mentioned that they are caused by extension of target language rules to inappropriate text. So these kind of errors have been committed while dealing with regular and irregular verbs as well as the application of plural forms. So these are the common errors. Okay, in dealing the verbs, regular and irregular verbs, as well as the plural forms of nouns. For example, we have the word tooth. So some students thought that the plural form of the word tooth is tooths rather than teeth because they overgeneralize the rule that adding s, we have to add s to pluralize a word. And also the same goes with he goes. So by thinking that we have to add d or ed at the last part of the verb if it's past. So students might say he goed rather than went. So that is an example of overgeneralizing the rules in linguistics. Okay, so the last part here is we have developmental errors. It is still under the intralingual transfer. So this kind of error is somehow part of the overgeneralizations. But later on, it was considered or called as the natural and developmental learning stage errors. So these are results of normal pattern of development, such as for the word calm, they opt to say calmed, and braked, they opt to say braked instead of broke. So because they thought that the patterns is similar for all forms, in all forms. So this indicates that the learner has started developing their linguistic knowledge and failed to reproduce the rules they have lately been exposed to in target language learning. So students can already remember the normal patterns such as this one, right? So um, changing the form of the verb into the past form. However, they failed to reproduce the rules correctly. So, but they are still considered in the developmental learning stage. They're becoming familiar of the rules, of the patterns, but the, they still lack the ability to use those patterns accurately. So that's it for now. Let's proceed to the next video. Before that, let me know if you have other questions.